There is one of the movements of Debussy's Children's Corner, the sixth movement, Gollywog's Cakewalk, as performed by Pascal Rogé, who is my guest in the studio this morning. Born in Paris, he was a student of the Paris Conservatoire from a young age, at least in my estimates, of 11 years old. Mentored by Julius Katchen, Nadia Boulanger, winner of numerous piano competitions, and at the age of 17, young age of 17, he signed on as an exclusive artist with Decca Records. One of the most distinguished recording artists. He's won many awards as well, and he exemplifies, well, I guess what you'd say, the finest in French pianism, playing of these composers, and particularly the Impressionist era, and that's who he'll be in town performing this weekend with the Winnipeg Symphony Orchestra. Good morning, Pascal.
Good morning.
Thank you for coming in this morning.
I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, we're happy to have you in town, not just in the studio, but in town performing this weekend with solo recital and with the Winnipeg Symphony Orchestra. Mm-hmm. So before we talk about those concerts, which we obviously want to talk about, get your sort of some inside scoop behind these concerts, tell us a bit about your background in piano music for listeners who may or may not be familiar with sort of where you come from and your background in music.
I come from a musical family, third generation. Grandfather violinist, mother pianist, organist, grandmother pianist, music all around when I was born. So two pianos at home, started to bang on the piano like every little boy, and my mother, why don't you put your fingers on the right place? And that's it. Here I am.
And that's it.
That's it.
Just like that, huh?
Yeah, because I never stopped playing. I never stopped enjoying playing. It's been the most natural thing in my life, playing the piano.
What do you remember from a young age as leaving a lasting impression on you, and why you wanted? I mean, there's a lot of kids that are introduced to piano at a young age, and they just throw it out the window. They don't want to do it anymore. So, what was it that convinced you that this is something you wanted to do?
I don't know. I think it was a passion from the very early days. I mean, my mother was also a piano teacher, so she had other students than me, and she had to put a lock on the piano room because I would keep getting in and show them how to play. So, I mean, piano was my passion. I don't remember any moments that I was thinking of doing something else. And I never thought of doing anything else. Mm-hmm. And later, when I had kids and they became teenagers, and they said to me, "Dad, what am I going to do?" I was so surprised. What do you mean? You don't know? No? Ah.
Wow. Well, I knew from the time I was born.
I never had that
knew.
question in my life. So I thought, okay, there are people that don't know. Yeah, of course. But it's so natural. I mean, I'm so thankful to my mother, of course, to bring me into that and to help me and my teachers and to have brought me into the best possible life. I mean, traveling, playing music, bringing joy to people. I mean, can't be better.
Mm-hmm. So was it natural that you just fall into the French repertoire, or
that took more time, but it goes back to my early years because my teachers, Lucette Decca, for instance, was a student of Marguerite Long. Marguerite Long was the favorite interpreter of Fauré, Debussy, and Ravel. I was fortunate to meet her, and she was 90, I was 9, but I still remember the shock to see someone that knew Ravel or Debussy. For me, it was like, well, I'm seeing them. Mm-hmm. So the link with French music was very, very early. I mean, I think one of the very first performances in a kind of little audition was Debussy Preludes, some of them. Ravel concerto was always my favorite concerto. So from the beginning, French music was really very important to me. But then, as a regular young artist, pianist, you have to play everything. I mean, first as a student, and then as a young performer. I mean, you try out every kind of repertoire. Mm-hmm. So I did play Tchaikovsky, Prokofiev, Rachmaninoff, Beethoven, Mozart. I mean, everything that
and still do sometimes. Yeah, it's still
sometimes. Rarely. Yeah. Because
Yeah.
the more now I am at the stage and an age that I can really choose. I believe that what I can bring to people is much more special if I play French repertoire because that's my own language. Mm. I mean, even if you learn how to speak 6 or 7 different languages, there will always be a mother tongue, something that you're really familiar with. And for many reasons, I have the feeling that it's really my music. And on top of it, it's a music that is not so performed. I've done some kind of premiere of Saint-Saëns concerto in Australia or New Zealand of places where it's never been played. And it's a less familiar repertoire. I mean, to play Satie or Poulenc is not as common as to play Chopin or
Mozart
Beethoven.
Yeah.
So I feel more comfortable playing something that people don't know too much, and I'm proud to make them discover new music. Here I'm playing a Soirée de Nazelle by Poulenc. I don't think it's a piece that is very often played. So I'm glad that I can bring music that accessible, of course. I mean, people will love it, but it's not a music that say, "Oh yeah, we've heard it last week with another."
Yeah.
So for all those reasons, and I think it's a music which gives me such a freedom, because, as I say, it's my language, so it may sound pretentious, but I cannot go wrong with this music because I was born with it and I know exactly how to play it. And it has also a kind of liberty in the sense that there is no such thing as tradition. If you play Beethoven or Schumann, so you have behind you, I mean, 200 years of tradition of playing, and you have to follow a certain pattern. With Debussy, I mean, I can feel completely free and play different every day. It's my music. So for all those reasons, now I can really feel that, yeah.
So so looking back on when you used to, I mean, you've been playing this your whole life, looking back on when you used to play it when you were younger, I'll just say when you were younger, as opposed to how you play it now, is there quite a difference? Do you find it that your playing has changed a lot since you were?
Oh, for sure, yeah. Because I have changed as a human being, and I have all those years of experience. And again, the music allows you. I mean, any music allows you to change and to mature and to have an evolution in your interpretation. But I think even more the French repertoire, because, as I say, it has that freedom that there is no boundaries. I mean, you can really follow your instinct if you have the right instinct to play that music. But I doubt that you can play Schubert instinctively unless you're born in Vienna, perhaps. But you have to think, you have to construct, you have to make sense, you have to all those things. I don't have to with the French repertoire, and it's always short pieces. So I think for the audience, it's nice. It's like champagne, a glass of champagne, and then it's not that profound, or there is no big drama. It's more about dreaming, nature, humor. I don't know, it expresses a lot of emotion that I particularly like to share with audiences.
I was just that was my next question. But I'm in the studio with Pascal Rogé. He's in town to perform a couple concerts with the Winnipeg Symphony Orchestra. He's also doing a solo recital as part of their Impressionist festival. I was going to ask you in your mind, what is the music of Impressionism? How would you describe it? You sort of just did there with.
Yeah, it's mostly linked with nature. And it's funny because the word of Impressionism is rarely linked with music. It's, of course, mostly painters, painting. And Debussy himself said that he didn't want to be called Impressionist because I think it was a free mind, and being caught into a group or a nickname, he didn't like it. But obviously his music is Impressionist. I mean, only the titles. I mean, it's all referring to winds, nature, sunshine, islands. I mean, it's all about impressions. So it is an impressionistic music, and it recreates atmosphere, colors, temperatures, things that usually you don't deal with sound. You deal with colors painting. But I believe that you can paint with sound. I mean, that's my idea of playing French music. It's playing with colors and painting with sound. And you have to get those impressions, again, the words of impression, inside yourself before you play it. I'll never forget, I was mentioning Marguerite Long, I mean, the great interpreter of Debussy. I was fortunate to play for her a prelude by Debussy called Les Pas sur la Neige, Footstep in the Snow. It's an easy prelude. I could play it. I was 9. I could play that easily. It starts with very simple 2 notes, the first 2 bars. I played those 4 bars, and she stopped me and said, "It's not cold enough." Interesting. What what does it mean? She didn't say it's not fast enough, it should be more piano or something. No, it's not cold enough. So she was just challenging my imagination. Of course, at 9, it was a bit too much for me. But the fact that she said that, I still think of that when I play now, 60 years later, because it's an image. It's something that struck me. If she had told me more piano, I'm sure I would have forgotten. But she was just challenging my imagination. She tried to recreate something that is not part of your keyboard, not part of music, coldness. How do you do that?
Without putting your feet in the snow.
No, but you put your imagination in the snow.
How
can I? And it's the same with the wind, it's the same with the rain, it's the same with all those elements of nature that Debussy included in his music. How can you translate that? I mean, there's a prelude called Ce qu'a vu le vent d'ouest, what the west wind saw. The beginning is, many notes. But if you play only the notes, it sounds like many notes. But if you play it in the right way, it sounds like wind. So that's why sometimes I say to students, don't play all the notes. Just make me think it's wind. And what do you mean don't play on the
And that's where life experience comes in, true. Because, I mean, as you say, when you're young, you don't necessarily have all the life experience. You haven't traveled. And then, when you get to be older and you have that life experience and you've seen these types of things in nature and seen many parts of the world, you can interpret the music and bring more richness to it.
The richness of age.
So let's talk quickly about your concert. You're doing a solo recital October 20th, and then you're performing the Camille Saint-Saëns piano concerto with them as well. So tell us what to expect from the solo recital. You've sort of given us many hints already.
Another thing I didn't mention, but I will mention it before playing, is I always ask the audience not to applaud between the pieces. So I want each half of the concert as a single journey through, although there are several pieces, as I said before, all French music is made of short pieces. So it's a succession of short pieces, but I want it to sound like one journey, one dream, one piece of music. It's not important, I think, for the audience to know that this music is by Poulenc or by Ravel, by Debussy. No, the most important is to forget about those things, just relax, listen, and go somewhere else. So for me, clapping is like waking up. You make noise and say, where am I? So for me, I think it's disturbing, and I think for the audience also, when do I have to clap? Now? Not now, maybe later. No. Just forget about it.
Beginning and the end.
Yeah.
And halfway.
Yeah.
Halfway.
That's fine.
So take note, if you're going to be in the audience, no clapping. Even if you want to clap, don't do it. Don't do it. You'll break the spell.
No, because it's, as I say, it's not about me. I'm also at the stage where I don't have to prove anything. I just want to make music accessible to people and to share emotion. I'm not going to prove that I am a good pianist. And I just want them to share my love for this music and discover new emotions, new landscapes, new feelings, and for that I don't need to be clapped or approved or anything. It's more really like going to for a walk or going to a museum. You don't clap in front of a beautiful painting, don't you? Same thing.
That's true. Or in front of a tree.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe
but
some
you have
people
emotion.
do.
I mean, you do have emotion, but it's not like something you might cry, or you might smile, or you might think that. But that's what I want people to to experience.
Now, what about with the symphony?
That's different, because I think any concerto is kind of a showpiece. It has to. You have a full orchestra, and the term of concerto itself means brilliant, and I'm sure they would clap at the end of the concerto, I hope. And that piece, the Saint-Saëns second, is a very effective piece, virtuoso piece, full of brilliance. It's champagne again, and it makes you happy, and it's a great piece. I love it. I love Saint-Saëns. Very underrated.
So, just before, I'm gonna play a little bit of that music in 1 second, the Saint-Saëns piano concerto, with you performing it. You've been to Winnipeg. It's been a while since you were in Winnipeg, and somebody told me a story. I think you have a story about last time you were in Winnipeg.
Because I was at that time I was living in New York City, and I was traveling from New York, and there was a snowstorm here, and all flights were cancelled, and I spent most of the day at the airport trying to get a connection, something that could bring me there. And finally, I think I got there at 2:00 in the morning, and then I had to take a cab to my hotel, but it was snowing and there was no cab, and I was lining outside, and I was really tired. So no, that's it, that's enough. I take the first hotel at the airport and I stay there, and we'll see tomorrow. So, and then of course my luggage didn't arrive. So I had to buy kind of something decent to play on stage. But I made it. I was very happy because my manager said, forget it. I mean, you never make it. Stay there. No.
And you made it.
I made it, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're here when it's finer weather. I'm glad you're here. And
nice
thank you for coming in this morning. It's great to chat with you.
I love it. No, very nice.
And wonderful weekend ahead of music, that's for sure.
I hope so. And I'm very, very happy that my collaboration with Alliance Française, I'm very proud of that, because it's actually very rare that I deal with French organization.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I really admire what they do here, and to put up such a great program and show not only French music, but songs, artists, and things. I'm very proud.
Good. Well, again, we're happy to have you here. Pascal Rogé has been in the studio chatting. He is in town with the Winnipeg Symphony Orchestra. He's doing a solo recital on October 20th, and then he's doing concerts with them on the 21st and 22nd. Go to wso.ca for information and tickets. And this is one of the pieces he's going to be playing. This is a version with him and Charles Dutoit and the Montreal Symphony Orchestra, Camille Saint-Saëns Piano Concerto No. 2 in G minor.